KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
Candidates for Spokane mayor talked about what they want to do to close the gap on our homeless crisis. With Election Day next Tuesday, candidates are in their final days to address the public and secure votes. Nonstop Local KHQ brought Spokane mayoral candidates Tim Archer, Lisa Brown, Kelly Stevens, and incumbent Mayor Nadine Woodward to the downtown public library Wednesday night. Candidate Patrick McCann couldn't attend. The debate focused on one topic ahead of next week's primary election: homelessness. Candidates had time for opening and closing statements.
People are shuffled from the street to shelter, emergency rooms, or jail, and then they're back on the street again. What this administration is doing isn't working.
I'm proud of my record of bringing people together to deliver results for the city of Spokane. We've added 500 more beds to the regional shelter system.
What Spokane needs is strong leadership, because we do not have a homeless problem. We have a government problem.
I'd like to change the vocabulary I've been using from housing first to shelter first. Housing is ideal, but in a crisis, shelters win.
And time to answer each question, including what are some of the factors that contributed to our unhoused population.
Lack of planning by the city and local governments is part of the problem.
We have addiction on the street that we see every single day. They cannot be housed. They need to be helped first. And then, of course, mental health.
Number one, lack of law enforcement. Number two, addiction. And number three, mental health.
Mental health and drug addiction, those two, they're so obvious.
The candidates also talked about the closing of the I-90 homeless encampment, Spokane Unite, the regional approach to address homelessness, and how to balance the needs of both housed and unhoused Spokane people. To learn more about the mayoral and city council candidates on the ballot, check out our voter's guide on KREM.com. The deadline to register to vote online and by mail passed Monday, but you can still register in person at the Spokane County Elections Office now through Election Day, August 1st. In the studio, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
Incumbent Nadine Woodward has raised more than any other Spokane mayoral candidate ever, but we wanted to know if that signals what we could see happen in November or if the money really matters. Before any votes have been tallied, there's already a clear winner when it comes to fundraising in Spokane's mayoral race.
In almost every election, the people who have more money are more likely to win.
Incumbent Nadine Woodward's nearly $420,000 in contributions is more than any mayoral candidate has raised in city history. According to Washington's Public Disclosure Commission, Woodward edged out the $395,000 raised by David Condon when he won the seat in 2015. The next nearest contender in terms of funding is Lisa Brown, who raised about $270,000. Tim Archer has pulled in just over $29,000, most of it self-funded.
Obviously, it really helps a candidate to raise more money. That enables you to buy more advertising.
Political science professor Blaine Garvin says money isn't everything, though more donations can signal who voters or certain groups see as a likely winner. While Brown has raised more than $208,000 from individual donors, Woodward's campaign has largely been bankrolled by businesses, real estate groups, and developers.
The opposition may very well, I don't think they will, but could very well say, look, she's in their pocket. Or she's thinking about their interest more than she's thinking about the interest of the ordinary voter.
Garvin cautions money isn't the most important factor in an election. It's more about voters recognizing a candidate, especially if they have a track record voters can get behind.
Money doesn't buy election.
And of course, the fundraising isn't over yet. With the general election in November, there's still plenty of time to earn even more for two contenders. And here's another thing to consider. Garvin says elections are just getting more expensive in general, so we are seeing in many cases more funds going into local races. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
If you have been downtown recently, you might have noticed just how slow the water is flowing through Riverfront Park. Now those low flows have triggered a new round of water restrictions in Spokane. Let's verify what Stage 2 means for your water usage. Our sources are the City of Spokane and the United States Geological Survey. The Spokane City Council passed a drought response measures ordinance in 2022. It has 2 levels. The first is a water conservation effort that's in effect every summer. The second level is a drought response, which kicks in when the Spokane River falls below 1,000 cubic feet per second. Data from the USGS shows the Spokane River flow has stayed below that level since the morning of July 24th. So here's what Level 2 water restrictions mean for people in the city of Spokane. No outdoor watering between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Watering is limited to no more than 2 days per week and fewer than 2 hours per day. And you are not allowed to use water to clean up hardscapes like sidewalks, driveways, or decks.
Well, Army Sergeant Nathan Bott served 3 tours in Afghanistan. He was part of the same battalion as BOWE BERGDAHL. When he talked with Botts today, he said his feelings about what happened haven't changed. Former Army Sergeant Nathan Botts was part of the initial platoon that searched for BOWE BERGDAHL in 2009. The military estimates as many as 6 U.S. soldiers died as part of that search.
I lost friends looking for him.
Botts says when BERGDAHL went missing, the military's entire focus turned to finding him.
Our whole mission changed to go looking for him. Now your focus is on search and rescue or search and recovery instead of engaging with the enemy.
BERGDAHL claimed he left his post in Afghanistan in hopes of alerting his Army general of poor management in his unit. But Botts tells me it was a selfish move from the very beginning.
He betrayed our trust. And if you betray that trust that you're not going to protect them, that betrayal, you can never come back from that.
The search for BERGDAHL went on for weeks. Botts and his battalion personally looked for him from July of 2009 to February of 2010. And he says every day they were putting their lives on the line. So when Botts learned this week that a judge vacated BERGDAHL's dishonorable discharge, he was furious.
I take it personal, and I know that everybody in the unit that's going to hear about this is going to take it personal. This is against us.
And even though more than a decade has passed, he says he still believes BERGDAHL needs to face the consequences of his actions.
I think he should have stayed in prison. I think he should have had a life sentence.
It's been more than 10 years. Why does this still bother you?
Why wouldn't it? You know, it's betrayal is betrayal, and that will never leave.
Nathan Botts also tells me he hopes these new developments spark another trial. He wants to see BERGDAHL behind bars. In the studio, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
Well, the criminal investigation started last fall, centering around then-Fair Director Darcy Smith. We're now getting a look at what Sandpoint police found, showing she may have taken more than $200,000. The Bonner County Sheriff's Office sent out 20 redacted pages of a Sandpoint police report, showing some of the alleged fraud committed by Fair Director Darcy Smith. Smith died by suicide during the investigation last October, 4 days after a police interview. The sheriff's office says suspicion started in June 2022 when someone tipped off the county's HR department that Smith used fair funds for personal purchases. But Sheriff Daryl Wheeler says Smith tried to block an internal investigation by filing a harassment grievance against the HR team. And then County Commissioner Dan McDonald supported her effort to hamper the investigation. Sheriff Wheeler says McDonald insisted the HR team be taken off the case and falsely claimed the county commissioners would investigate. A Bonner County prosecutor launched a criminal case in October because of the blocked internal investigation. According to the police report, Sandpoint police looked into Smith's fair and personal accounts and found evidence of numerous unauthorized checks and missing deposits of fair profits. The report says Smith wrote more than $20,000 worth of checks to various people for fair help, but none of those people worked for the county. In addition, she also wrote more than $8,000 in checks to her own son, who also wasn't a county employee. Investigators also found a deposit for rodeo ticket sales was about $5,000 short and couldn't find where that missing money went. The report states Smith had access to fair bank accounts with little oversight from the fair board and opened numerous accounts without authorization. In all, investigators were able to confirm Just over $40,000 was misappropriated by Smith, but another $206,000 was suspected of being misappropriated but couldn't be proven. Sheriff Daryl Wheeler says the full extent of the theft can't be calculated since the fair is mainly a cash business. The Bonner County Sheriff's Office declined to speak with us, saying the report speaks for itself. We've also reached out to Sandpoint's police chief as well as the fair and county officials and haven't heard back, so it's unclear if anyone else is being investigated. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News. Hazmat response crews are soaking up and scraping out part of Cheney's Minnie Creek after a spill was reported late last week. The Department of Ecology was called in by Cheney Fire July 19th.
First, looking at it, we thought this was some type of a solvent that somebody had dumped into the creek.
But Ty Keltner says an investigation later tracked down the source, a leak at the Chevron across First Street.
It's underground in a vault. It's a leak-proof tank.
Store manager John Calcaterra laughs now, but it's been a tough few days since he was told the spill was coming from underneath this red-dyed diesel pump.
He told me there's a leak in my tank.
This type of diesel is used in farm equipment, so Calcaterra says they called in farmers to help empty the tank. They also had the tank and the backup vault surrounding it checked out.
They could not find a leak in our tank, so we're looking at what else could have happened.
That vault also had diesel spilled into it.
For now, DOE says the diesel leaked out of the vault and through piping and culverts, eventually reaching Minnie Creek.
We'll have to do some more investigating and determine just how much is spilled and how long we think this has been going on for.
Work also continues to figure out just how far this contamination goes. Tests did show the diesel leached into the creek soil, so some of that is being excavated out.
At this point, we've collected about 30,000 gallons of mixture of diesel and water, and that includes some work that's done in the culverts and storm drains.
So far, there's no telling how long the cleanup will take, but DOE says as of right now, there are no known health or environmental impacts. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
We're filming a horror movie.
Everybody set and action. Hi, my name is Ryan Abramson. I'm a Spokane tribal member from Spokane. Grew up on the Spokane Indian Reservation. I own and run a company called Cheney Media that I started with my friends from college. We wanted to start a film camp because we wanted to cultivate a film community in Spokane. Because right now it's kind of hamstrung between people who worked on a big production like Z Nation and everybody else. And action. It starts with the youth because they're mainly interested in it. They have access to tools that we never had. And there's a certain level of understanding kids have and imagination. We just wanted to cultivate that and actually have well, honestly, we wanted to work with more people from this area.
Lex Swift. I come from KALISPEL Reservation. I love it. I love being director, especially yesterday because I had more control over how I was going to tell the story.
I'm Rhea Abrahamson. I'm from the Spokane Reservation, or Welpinit. 2 weeks of the camp. First week's usually teaching everybody how to run sound, how to do camera, how to light, all of that. And then by the end of that, that's when you start making scripts, and then you finalize them before the end of the week. Second week is where you start filming those, I'd say. I've always personally have a very big interest in like film and art and that kind of creative stuff. So it's like, hey, there's a film camp, you wanna go? It's like, sure. Been here for like 4 or 5 years. It's still really interesting and I love being here.
If you're interested in filmmaking and stuff like that, then this is your spot.
Spokane's filmmaking community is coming up. Spokane Filmworks is getting stuff. Marginalized communities are getting recognized. It's a great time to be a filmmaker in Washington State. All right, you hear that, everybody? It's time for lunch.
So in the last 5 years, the state says more than half of boating deaths have been paddlers, so they designated this week Paddle Safe Week to help teach people how to be safe on things like paddleboards, kayaks, and canoes. Now, the #1 most obvious safety tip, wear a life jacket and have a life jacket on board at all times. But that's more than just a safety tip, it's actually the law. Paddleboarders, kayakers, and canoers have to follow boating laws and regulations, which includes having a life jacket for every person on board. Some other safety tips: check out the weather before heading out, have a float plan and tell someone the route you're going to take, paddle with other people in a group, not alone, don't drink or do drugs while out on the water, make sure you know how to get back in or on your boat in case you fall in the water, and wear bright colors so other boaters can see you. And lastly, put your contact information on your boat so if it does float off, whoever finds it can call to make sure you're okay. And while paddling, of course, is a super popular thing to do here in the summer in the inland Northwest, so is just regular boating. I talked to a boat club out in North Idaho who says more women are taking on the hobby. All aboard the Let It Be.
All right, hang on.
In the captain's seat,
Have fun.
Karen Thornburg.
My favorite part is going all the way down to neutral, sometimes turning off the boat, like I'll show you.
Karen is quickly becoming a boating master.
This is my favorite part right here. I can be out in the middle of the lake.
It's a pretty new pastime for her, though.
I've never driven a boat, never.
Not until the past few months, at least.
Each time I go out, I just feel more comfortable and more comfortable.
And each time she goes out, she notices a pattern.
I'll watch all the other boats that go out, and it's always a man driving. I've seen very few women go out where they're driving and they're taking care of everything.
Boat US says men outnumber women 7-1 when it comes to actually owning a boat. But Freedom Boat Club says 35% of their members nationally are women, partly because it's accessible.
Everybody can do this. It's not hard.
The club takes care of the boats and even teaches you how to drive them.
You're completely independent on the water, and that's a great feeling.
Giving women like Karen,
very relaxing,
and other women across the country that freedom. So one thing to note, if you're going out and boating in Idaho, you do not need a boating license to drive, but you do need one here in Washington State. So if you're getting out this summer, just make sure you know the laws and know how to stay safe. In Liberty Lake, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Oh yeah, you've got to have some nice shoes to wear as you walk into school. And I mean, it's just, ultimately, it's a confidence thing, but from now until August 10th, you can come and drop off a brand new pair of athletic shoes or socks at Mission Community Outreach Center. And what they're gonna do, they're gonna go ahead and donate those to students that are in need of new shoes before they head back to the classroom. And this is something that they've been doing for 13 years now. Last year, Mission Community Outreach tells me they gave out 1,680 new pairs of shoes. This time around, they anticipate that number to rise up to 2,000. And as you can see from that video on your screen, that supply is growing every single day. Many parents are already thinking about back to school shopping, which can be a stressful time, especially when money is tight. So the overall goal of this drive is to help ease the financial burdens of those who may not have the funds or access to buy their children new shoes before the school year.
We know there's a lot that are struggling, and a new pair of shoes may not seem like a ton to everybody, but for families that have a few kids, maybe that's $100 that they can use on food or rent or other essentials that, you know, they don't have access to all the time.
So if you're able to buy a new pair of shoes or socks and donate them to the drive, here's where you can drop them off. Of course, we mentioned here at Mission Community Outreach Center, they'll be taking those donations until August 10th. Wallaroos Furniture Store until August 10th as well. They have several locations, 2 in Spokane and 2 in the Valley. BECU will also be collecting donations from July 31st until August 7th. If you need shoes for your kid, registration for the drive opens exactly 1 week from today on August 1st. All you have to do is go to www.formission.org. Any child from preschool to 8th grade will be eligible to receive a brand new pair of shoes and socks. For now, reporting in Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.